Wow. I mean, wow. What else do we say about that game? It was an absolute embarrassing disaster. Everything that we've been talking about all season long with the coaching of Stephanie White, from the system to the defense being non-existent, to the rotations offensively and defensively, to the substitutions off the bench, to the way she handles Caitlin Clark, to what she allows Kelsey Mitchell to do. It was all on display today. And that is after a first quarter that was pleasantly surprising, where Caitlin Clark played a lot like Caitlin Clark. And guess what? 37 points in the first quarter, 13 for Caitlin Clark. Off to a great start. The team looked good. They looked like it was entertaining basketball. And then guess what? We went all Stephanie White. 96 points total, 37 in the first quarter. That means, yes, 59 in the next three quarters combined. And of course, they gave up 100. And wait, let me double check. Yep, 113 points to the Atlanta Dream, who never scored fewer than 26 points in a single quarter. I think they had 30, 26, 28, 29, something like that. Absolutely wrecked the Indiana Fever in the second. Well, they wrecked them for three quarters. It was an embarrassment from start to finish. Stephanie White didn't make a single adjustment all game. Didn't call timeouts when Atlanta's going on a 13-0 run to just completely put the game out of reach. And yeah, you know what? The officiating was terrible. That is absolutely true. But the Fever were so unbelievably bad that it didn't matter. Kelsey Mitchell was dribble, 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 head down, shot chucking. Aaliyah Boston picked up a terrible fifth foul. Did Stephanie White chant? Not even for Aaliyah Boston. Her fifth foul, there was no contact whatsoever. And Stephanie White does not challenge the call. I got to tell you, and I think Rhodes at Black and White Sports toward the end of the game at one point put out a challenge, shall we say, to the media covering the Fever, first pointing out that all of us have been right all season long. Fever media, who tried to smear us and attack us, Slurp FC, who tries to smear us and attack us and make excuses and tell us how great Stephanie White is. Y'all are wrong. You've been wrong. You've been doing nothing but defend this Fever organization. And the other thing that Rhodes added, which is 100% true, mentioning New York and, of course, mentioning my Philadelphia area, it would be an absolute bloodbath in the press conference after games like this. If it was New York or Philly, our coach would be scared to go to the press conference. In fact, I'll tell you, the coach we have in Philly right now, and players have done this at times too, has young kids. He has been known at times when it's like this and he knows what he's going to have to do and the questions he's going to get from media. He brings his little kids to the post-game press conference in hopes that he's keeping the media from asking the questions that they truly want to ask. That's how bad it gets. And I can tell you this as well, with what we've seen this season from Stephanie White and from Amber Cox, who put this roster together. If this was truly a professional sports franchise, right? And we kept hearing about how they want to be Apple, right? It's not about Caitlin Clark. They want to be Apple. Well, guess what? If you want to be Apple, the front office, the general manager, the GM, and in this case, I guess it's Kelly and Amber and the head coach would all be fired at this point. There is no way, if you are a Philadelphia team, there's no way if you're a New York team, maybe even LA team, you have title aspirations. And this is what you are putting on the court. This is the performance that you are giving. Everybody's fired. Everybody's fired. Don't care. You go interim, you give it to an assistant coach, doesn't matter. But you make the change because it ain't getting worse. You make the change. And I will mention it again. I know I've mentioned it before, but the Philadelphia Phillies have World Series aspirations, got off to a 9-19 start, and we fired our manager, who has been very, very, very good for 4 years. In fact, he got the job because he was an interim manager back in 2022 when our manager got fired from a terrible start. And guess what they did that year? Went all the way to the World Series. That's what can happen when you do the right thing and you make a change. And the Indiana Fever need to make a change. They have a coach who is completely lost. They have a coach who is focused on me, Metheny me. That is what Stephanie White is focused on. It's all about Stephanie White. It is not about the team. It is not about Caitlin Clark. It is not about putting the players in a position to be successful. Stephanie White doesn't care about any of that. Stephanie White wants to do what Stephanie White wants to do, and then she wants credit. Because I've said it before, even though I tell you what, it didn't look like it today. Now I'm starting to question it. That even in the Stephanie White system, if you get Caitlin Clark being Caitlin Clark just enough, you're going to win a lot of games. Now I'm not so sure. I might have to rethink that. But my point being, Stephanie White would be taking the credit. She is going to force a generational player who plays fantastic read and react basketball and has the talent around her to elevate them to winning games and contending for a title, because there are no great teams right now in the WNBA. There are no great teams at all. This is there for the taking for the Indiana Fever, but they've got to right the ship. They've got to stop the bleeding. They've got to do it now. And that means firing Stephanie White. I'm not effing around with this. I'm not going over the top. This is what you do if you are a professional sports organization, a professional sports franchise, and you want to win a title. You do not let this continue. People say, oh, but it's early. It ain't early. They're 9-7. That's 16 games out of a 44 game season. It's not early. What is that? 16 and 16 is what? 32. 32 and 16 is what? 48. We are more than a third of the way through this season. Don't tell me it's early. By the way, Caitlin Clark off to a fantastic start in this game, 13 points in the first quarter, but she finished with 26. She played the whole first quarter, which, by the way, one of the questions that the media could ask, because remember that game with the dust up of the bench. And Stephanie White was like, "Oh, that's our normal rotation." Caitlin Clark always comes out, 3 minutes into the game, and no one followed up with the question, say, "Oh, well, we're looking at all these other games." That's not true. Well, Caitlin Clark played the entire first quarter. By the way, and I think again, shout out to Rose because I think he's the one that brought this up. He said, "Hey, ever since we all the YouTubers covered all that and hammered that point home, you don't see Caitlin Clark coming out 3 minutes into the game anymore." Maybe we made a little bit of a dent, but again, no questions from the media, and Caitlin Clark played the entire first quarter. Then she sat the first 2.5 minutes of the second, and things went downhill from there. And by the way, she could have gone in a lot sooner. She should have gone in about 8.5, maybe 60 to 90 seconds, because I think we had a timeout that went to commercial, and then there was a challenge. Like, it was only a minute and a half of game time, but between the quarter ending, I think the timeout and the challenge, it was a lot of time that Caitlin Clark was on the bench, and she could have gone in much, much earlier. There's so much I want to say about this, but I want to get clips. I want to do some more deep dive analysis, kind of the stuff that I leave to maybe tomorrow, that we can go into that sort of stuff. But I definitely wanted to do a reaction after this because I thought I'm a little fired up. I'm a little heated. I wanted to get this out there, see what all of you think in the comments below. Are you done? Are you like, hey, Fever, change has to be made now because we have had it. A professional team fires people at this point. There are no excuses. Hell, a professional team might even make a trade just to shake things up. Absolutely unacceptable what is going on with the Indiana Fever. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. As always, appreciate you being here. Like, comment, subscribe. Y'all know the drill. I will talk to you later.